ABSA Investment Analyst, Mr. Christopher Gilmour. Good morning and thank you for joining us, sir.
Good morning, Evan. Thank you.
Just first up, what's been the reaction on the markets after yesterday's speech?
I think generally the markets took it very positively. You know, we've had to contend in the past year or two with a really fairly nasty sort of economic background worldwide. And South Africa has actually weathered the storm reasonably well. But nevertheless, you know, things are getting tighter all the time. And, you know, we had the Reserve Bank a while ago reducing its forecast, and we had Treasury yesterday reducing its forecast to 2.1% for the year, which is not where we want to be. But even so, against that bad background, the Minister of Finance pulled another rabbit out of the hat, which he has done on many occasions now. And I think, generally speaking, the market liked it. And as you're saying, this is the last MTBPS before the election. We've got a budget before the election. So he's still got a bit of leeway, I think, perhaps to surprise on the upside. But things are getting tougher. They were a small, open economy, and we're subject to the vagaries of what goes on in the big, bad world. So if things get tighter out there, it's going to be an even more difficult task for him come February, if such a thing could happen.
The naysayers, they spoke about social spending will definitely be up in this speech before the elections next year. What did you see?
Well, look, social spending will be up, but perhaps not to the degree that a lot of people were expecting. So I think what he's done, he's trod this very, very fine line between a situation where his revenues are down, admittedly only by 3 billion compared to what we thought they would be, and at the same time expenditures that are keeping a cap on. And what he has very cleverly done, in my opinion, has sent out this message, this incredibly clear and concise message that no longer will it be tolerated for any kind of largesse of this kind of whole corruption thing. He's for the past 4 years now, he's been talking very, very explicitly about this. And he walks the talk and said, right, now the Cabinet's going to have to adhere to all of this as well. So I think it's a clear message. In isolation, it doesn't do an awful lot. You know, we're talking about a few million rands here and there. But I think he's now encouraging all of his colleagues in Cabinet to walk the talk in the same way as he has been doing for the past 4 or 5 years now.
Everyone's happy then, except the ministers who now have to fly business class, unfortunately.
Shame. No, that's terrible. But no, but you're right. And I think people will realize the seriousness of the situation in which we currently find ourselves around the world. The IMF recently came out with an update to global economic growth, 2.9% for this year, which in their terminology is recession.
Yeah.
So that's why I say we're confronted with a global economy that really isn't playing ball. Yeah. The US economy, stop-start. So within those parameters, I think it's difficult. People have to understand that everyone has now got to be singing from the same song sheet. There is no scope for people getting away with over-expenditure.
Cost-cutting was the buzzword, yes. Reining in wasteful expenditure, the other one. But how do you police this? How do you keep an eye on this? It seems to be such a massive thing to police.
No, you're quite right. Even you've put your finger right on it. And as I said before, the finance minister has been talking about this for the past 4 years now. And it's increasingly difficult to actually, and particularly when you get into municipal level, for example, it's all very well to say to Cabinet, guys, no more credit cards, bang, bang, bang. But when you get down to a regional and particularly municipal level, where a lot of that can still get through, it requires huge vigilance. So I think, make no mistake, the word has gone out that it won't be tolerated. So there have to be consequences for people who are stepping out of line. And it will be interesting to see what actually happens as a consequence of this.
South Africa, and you mentioned earlier, the world's fiscal outlook really has weakened in the last few months and years. What do you see were the key points or the key areas that he's going to address in the next couple of years to look at that?
The one that comes through loud and clear is the National Development Plan. And I think it's interesting because it transcends the political divide. You know, you've even got the DA welcoming this one. So I think there's a broad consensus on this one, other than the unions, obviously. They're not too happy about it. Yeah. But so I think, you know, as I was coming in this morning listening to him on the radio, he was saying that what we really need now is to get government, unions, and the private sector to sit down and chart a clear path. It's the sort of thing that Clem Santa has been talking about for a long time, get an economic CODESA. Because the problems that confront us locally and in the rest of the world are now so profound that, to put it just on the shoulders of government, I think is a bit unfair. So if you can get this national development plan implemented in at least some of its forms, then I think that would be a major step forward.
But it will be a very difficult road.
Very difficult road, isn't going to happen overnight, time-consuming, laborious, and it's going to tax all of the diplomacy on all sides to the limit.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Christopher Gilmour, ABSA Investment Analyst. Thank you.
Thank you.